turning into from, less of a greenhouse grower to a manufacturing logistics company. They have, from a growth curve standpoint, reached a point where they were looking for more than button pushers, looking to leverage IT to move to that next step forward.
Working with a client and coming in on especially a large scope like what Metrolina had to look at, it's really amazing all the different avenues you can really look at in cloud, right? How are you going to design it? How are you going to map it? How are you going to tame this beast, so to speak? We don't have to pitch just one carrier. We can look at all the different vendors, all the different carriers we have to truly find which one is a good fit for our client.
You start to talk about the cloud and that nebulous thing that everybody's touching, and the fears of, well, what happens if I put my data out there? That's a big concern. And having somebody assist you in such a project of this scope and magnitude is huge, to have that trust level and that history. So what Mike did was bring a lot of resources I wouldn't have known about for us to look at, and to make sure we're evaluating all the different options and making sure that we're making the right choice when we started down this road.
Earliest conversations were, hey, I've got Exchange. I'd like to get that off the table. And that's an easy one to do. He knew it was easy one to do. And I've got some other ones that, as we started talking, realizing there's a lot of opportunity here. It's a large Exchange environment. He had SharePoint and a lot of needs that needed to be met. They had a very large environment that was probably a little overbuilt for what they really needed. They built this huge infrastructure and realized that this infrastructure is a little large for what we need, and it's become cumbersome to run. So we're either going to have to hire some people or we're going to need to outsource some of this.
So we looked at a couple of options on how we were going to go about trying to make that transition. But the model that Matrix brought to the table of including all of the licensing, all of the services bundled basically on a per user fee was the model that worked for us. And it was a big sell. Our management had just spent, close to $1 million in IT hardware and equipment in less than 18 months.
In many ways, Metrolina saw where they were once Thomas had come in, to technology being an impediment to the way that they were growing. They're growing very fast. They're taking on many new markets. And when they looked at the infrastructure, something had to be done. It was that critical path that, if you're a salesperson, you're really looking for, where do I find that client? If you're the customer, you're looking for, what's my next choice going to be? I mean, the real competition to cloud services is keeping it in-house, hugging servers, and spending all this capital money. I mean, that's what we run up against. So as we began this conversation, something was happening. Money was getting spent one way or another, and it was a question of, where do we spend those dollars? As we got more entrenched, more involved with Metrolina and how they were doing things, I was completely blown away. Absolutely, what makes them different is technology. There is no doubt. And it's not just for the office folks. I mean, it's across the board. This is a natural progression. They've already invested. They realize and have reaped the benefits, quite honestly, of investing in technology and moving that forward and pushing it strategic. This was just another link in the chain.
Seeing true availability as a company is one of our challenges. So a good example of what having moved all this stuff to Matrix has allowed me to do is to start focusing on that process, that business process, and working with all the different key stakeholders, which is basically every part of the business. And to be able to see, all right, I've forecasted X, I've got work in progress for X, I've got X in transit, here's what I have available to ship to customers, right? Putting that visibility together is where we're focusing now. So there's a lot more value in that to the company than me standing there managing an HP server. Getting out of the hardware business, getting it to a location that it's managed, it's secure, it's redundant, and having access to it from anywhere on any device. All those things added up to eventually build a comfort level.
To deliver that kind of functionality that they can do it, we can do it in concert together to be able to manage that. Huge impact to them being able to control their spend, to be able to put the spend in the right place, and to be able to grow their business with technology helping them do that instead of the other way around. The tail's not wagging the dog here.
Ultimately, it comes back to value to the business and comfort level with the vendor that you are entering into this partnership with. You have got to be comfortable enough with that vendor to trust, yep, my data's secure, my systems are going to be up, the uptime I'm expecting, the SLAs are all there. And ultimately, that's how we felt with Matrix.